I made the transition out of the military, but I didn't want to stop pushing my limits or protecting the nation. So I joined the CIA. Now I conduct strategic operations and intelligence activities globally. It's a career that draws on my significant military and leadership experience. Keep serving our nation's interests. Join the CIA's Directorate of Operations. Visit cia.gov/careers to learn more and apply.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is my childhood. More specifically, I subscribe to the theory that there probably are some things that you guys did as kids that, if I'm being honest, I just didn't do. And I really don't have a rhyme or reason for it. In fact, I probably should ask my parents as to why I didn't do these things. And I came to this idea because I think as many of you know, I'm a parent of four. Our kids at the time of this recording, our oldest son, Dion, is 26. Our middle son, Cameron, is 23. Our baby son, which is crazy to say, is 18, Brandon. And our daughter, she's the only daughter. Her name is Skylar. She is 13, about to be 14. But I was thinking earlier about just some of the things that they've been able to accomplish and some of the things that they've done as kids. And then some of the things that they've done, I'm like, you know what? I didn't do that, or I didn't get the opportunity to do that. And then it wasn't because for any particular thing, but it just got me to thinking about this particular thing. So I wanted to come on the podcast and talk about it. I'm not mad. I'm not mad or anything. In fact, if there's anybody for me to be mad at, it would be my parents. But I'm not mad at my parents. But I just wanted to come on and talk about a few things that I never got a chance to do as a kid. And these are in no particular order. Now, here's the thing. Number one, I never played an instrument. I know that may come as a shock to some of you, particularly because most of you who know me know how much I love music, but I never got a chance to play an instrument. And there's a very bad reason as to why I never got a chance to play an instrument. Here's the thing. Back in the day when I think I was in the 5th grade, there were two instruments that I wanted to play. I wanted to play, at first and foremost, was the drums. I wanted to play the drums. I knew I'd be a great drummer because I was always a fan of music. As many of you know, I grew up in a music household. We listened to music. We had records. My parents had a bunch of records. I subsequently had a bunch of records growing up. So did my younger brother. And so we were in a music household where music was constantly being played. And I had, family members who played instruments. My uncle played guitar. Everybody in my family sang. And so, it was kind of like, to me, it would have been second nature. My big cousin Mike played saxophone. And so I thought that playing the drums would be dope. And so I remember by the time I got to maybe 5th or 6th, it might have been 6th grade. Because I think that's right around the time that you start, getting interest as far as playing an instrument. And so they sent the little sheet home and they told us how much it would cost for each instrument or whatever, because I guess you had to rent the instruments or what have you. But I didn't care because I was like, I'm going to play an instrument. More specifically, I'm going to play the drums. And so I brought the paper home and I told my mom, I said, hey, Mom, I want to play the drums. And my mom was like, no, you're not playing the drums. And I was like, well, why can't I play the drums? And she was like, well, drums are too noisy. You're not going to be making all that noise in this house. Okay. So I was very disappointed that she said that I couldn't play the drums. And so it hurt. I didn't cry, but it hurt because, again, I wanted to play the drums. And then so the second instrument that I got a chance to play was the saxophone. I wanted to play the saxophone. And so I took the paper back and, I had my mom sign it or what have you. And I took it back to school the next day. And so I guess there were other kids that had signed up to play the saxophone. And so what the band teacher said was, hey, I know you said that you wanted to play the saxophone, but we've already got enough people playing the saxophone. I want you to play the trumpet. And I was like, I'm not playing the trumpet. The trumpet ain't dope. Like, the sax was dope. And like I said, my big cousin Mike was playing the sax, and he had a soprano sax, which was really, really cool. I never forget, a soprano sax cost $1,000, which was crazy because anybody paying $1,000 for an instrument was wild to me. But, this was what, the mid 80s? This was like 87, 88, somewhere around there. So anyway, long story short, I was not allowed to play the drums. And when, I asked the band teacher, he said, well, hey, we've got enough people playing the saxophone. I want you to play the trumpet. I had no interest in playing the trumpet. There was nothing cool about playing the trumpet. Branford Marsalis hadn't come out yet. I wasn't like a fan of Miles Davis or anything. There was nothing cool about playing the trumpet. Like, if you wanted to be cool, you were going to play the drums. And so it was drums or bust. I settled for the saxophone, but I wasn't trying to play, anything other than the drums or the saxophone. And so subsequently, I never played an instrument. For as much as I love music, for as much as I'm a fan of music, for as much as I'm a music guy, never played the drums. And what became even more interesting just a few years later, I think my brother Damon, who's 3 years younger than me, gets to middle school, right? And for whatever reason, they send a little paper home. They ask, what instruments do they want to play? And he says he wants to play the drums. He asked my mom, can he play the drums? And she said yes. So that I have to take that up with my mom, because she let Damon play the drums and I couldn't play the drums. And I don't know. He never had a set of drums at the house, but he had, I guess, what they call drum pads. So he'd be tapping on the drum pads. So they didn't make much noise or anything. But my thing was, I could have played on the drum pads too. I didn't have to have a drum set like I was Questlove. But yeah, I was a little disappointed by that. And my mom, I don't think she's ever given me a real legit reason as to why she let him play and not me. So I'm gonna call my mom when this episode is done. What else? By the time I got to high school, I never drove a car to school. I know, like, for some kids, that's not a big deal. But for me in the South, that is big shit. Like, you got to be able to drive your car. I mean, like, there's nothing cooler than driving your car to school. And, I didn't get a car. I mean, I had access to a car in high school, but my mom wasn't letting me drive her car to school. And I literally lived, I don't know, it took me maybe 4 minutes to get to my high school, Wilson High School in Florence, South Carolina. Shout out to the Tigers. But no, I never drove to school. I always envied kids who drove to school. I rode to school with some of my friends, but no, I never drove to school in high school. I was driving. I think I started driving around 14. I think I had my license by the time I was 15. But I started driving up and down the street or to the store or something like that. But, there was no car that I could take. So, by the time we got to be juniors in high school, I had friends who had, hand-me-down cars from their parents. I had a couple of friends who had brand new cars. But, I just wasn't fortunate enough to drive to school. But when you grow up where we did in Florence, South Carolina, driving to school was a big thing. I mean, like, all of the cool kids that got a chance to drive to school, it just looked fly, man. And I mean, like, you had your own set of keys. So that means you could come and go as you pleased. You didn't have to bum rides. I mean, now, full disclosure, I rode with my friends to school. But it's one thing to ride. It's one thing if you ride into school. It's another thing if you're driving to school. So instead of riding to school with Joey or my boy Jay Fresh or my boy Zell, it would have been nice for me to take my mom's car and whip it around the corner to Wilson High School, but never happened. When I was younger, number 3, when I was younger, I never spent the night at a friend's house. Never spent the night at a friend's house. And subsequently, none of my friends never spent the night at my house. I really can't tell you why. It's not that my mom didn't allow it, because my brother, who was 3 years younger than me, he would go spend the night at his friend Chester. Shout out to Chester. He would spend the night at Chester and Chauncey's house all the time. In fact, he was like a third son to their parents were like his second set of parents, and he was like their third son. But no, I mean, for as close as I am to my boy Jason, Zell, Rudy, all of my guys, I never spent the night at their house. Never. And I don't really have a really rhyme or reason. And then obviously when you get to being like, I don't know, that was more something for, I guess, when we were younger. So by the time you get to high school, I don't know about you, but I mean, by the time I was in high school, I wasn't spending the night at somebody's house. Not no other dude. No, I just wasn't. To me, that seemed corny. I don't know. Y'all tell me, when you were in high school, did you spend the night at your friend's house? Because I didn't. By the time I got to high school, the idea was gone. I mean, I could have done it in middle school. Definitely could have done it in elementary school. And for us in Florence, elementary school was from kindergarten through 6th grade. And then middle school was 7th and 8th. And then high school, obviously 9th through 10th grade. 9th through 12th grade. What am I talking about? But yeah, so it's like, I don't know why, but I never spent the night. And it's interesting because even when we got to high school, I had friends who spent the night at each other's houses. It wasn't something that I did or even thought that was cool at that particular time once I got to high school. Fun fact, number 4, I have never been fishing before in my life. I'm from Florence, South Carolina, and I've never been fishing. There are plenty of places for me to fish. I had plenty of opportunities to fish, but I've never been fishing before in my life.
I made the transition out of the military, but I didn't want to stop pushing my limits or protecting the nation. So I joined the CIA. Now I conduct strategic operations and intelligence activities globally. It's a career that draws on my significant military and leadership experience. Keep serving our nation's interests. Join the CIA's Directorate of Operations. Visit cia.gov/careers to learn more and apply.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
And it's not because I've never been invited. My late Uncle Sonny, shout out to Uncle Sonny, much love. My late Uncle Sonny would come down. He lives in Chicago. He would come down for the summertime, and he would, visit us or whatever like that. And he loved to go fishing. And he would always say, "Nephew, do you want to go fishing with me?" And I'm like, "Uncle Sonny, what time you leaving?" And Uncle Sonny would always leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, he's like, "Hey, we got to get out there before it gets hot, and we got to get to the spot." And I'm like, no. I mean, 1, it's the summertime. 2, it's a Saturday. No, man, I've been getting up early all week to go to school. The one day that I could, I don't even want to use the word sleep in, because we weren't allowed to sleep in. But if I could stay in the bed until 8 a.m., I was going to do that on a Saturday. I wasn't getting up at 5. I wasn't getting up at 4 o'clock to be on some dock by 5 o'clock. No. So, especially in the summertime, no. So I passed on the idea of going fishing. I'll be honest, it's not something that I won't do. I think I'll do it at some point in my lifetime, but I've had opportunities, just never got it done. Never been fishing. And again, that raises an eyebrow for a lot of people considering where I'm from. But no, I just never. I actually, when I lived in Minneapolis, I got invited to do some ice fishing, and I was like, hell no. You want me to go stand on a piece of ice and where they drill a hole in the ice and put, no, thank you. I can look at the ice fishing from here. I wasn't interested. Now, granted, Minneapolis, beautiful city. I've talked about it plenty of times. I lived there for like a year and a half when I was working up there and flying back and forth between Minneapolis and Atlanta. They call it the land of 10,000 lakes for a reason. And it's a beautiful place. And again, great fishing, great fishing. And people live in that area of the country for, the spring and summer months because it is beautiful there. Winter and fall, not so much. But I had no ambition to do any type of fishing while I was in the Twin Cities. Number 5. Unlike most people, I have never owned a water gun. Never. And I know that's a surprise because almost every young person my age has either owned a water gun or at least a toy gun. I've never owned a water gun nor a toy gun. And there's a great reason for that. My dad, as many of you know, I mentioned it before, served in Vietnam. He fought in Vietnam for 3 or 4 years, serving our country, protecting our freedom. And with him being a Vietnam vet, he was very handy and still is to this day, very handy with a gun. But the thing that he told us, me and my brother Damon, was he saw in war the destruction that bullets and guns could do to the human flesh and the human body. And I remember distinctly about him telling me about someone in Vietnam that they were shooting at or whatever. He said he didn't think he fired the shots, but someone fired the shots. And he said there was, you could see where I guess they came up on the guy that they had killed or whatever. And he was laying there on the ground. They were checking his pockets and stuff for identification. And he said there was a hole in the guy's head. And as they lifted there was a hole in his forehead. And as they lifted his forehead up, there was nothing in the back of his head because the bullet basically blew his head off. And so it was just what they were looking at was just a shell of what used to be his head. And he said that he just saw that bullets and guns just did so much destruction to the human body that he never wanted us to own a water gun or a toy gun. And subsequently, we never owned a water gun or a toy gun. And I distinctly remember shortly after my parents got divorced, I was like, man, I'm I was kind of feeling myself or whatever like that. And this was like 87, where the big water gun craze was those water guns that looked like machine guns. And so we went out to LA for the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 21. And I'll never forget it. I went to a toy store as we were shopping, and there was this Uzi water gun. I mean, it looked just like a handheld Uzi machine gun, but it was a water gun, and it was battery operated. And I mean, like, it could spray from so far away, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna get this water gun. And so I bought the water gun. My mom didn't even know I bought the water gun. So I bought the water gun. I put it in my bag, and, we went shopping or whatever. We came back. And so we're coming back from the Super Bowl. Giants won, of course. Super Bowl champs over the Denver Broncos. My uncle wins the Super Bowl. And so we're on the plane. We're boarding. We're in LAX, getting ready to get on the plane. And I've got this water gun in my suitcase. And again, I'm I'm in 8th grade. Nobody's telling me like, yo, you probably shouldn't board this plane with a water gun. So as it's going through the little scanner thing or whatever, it gets flagged, obviously. They have to empty my luggage. They see that it's a water gun, but they take the water gun from me. And I am not allowed to take the water gun and travel back to South Carolina. They took it out, the plastic and everything. They realized that it was a water gun, but when I tell you this thing looked like a real machine gun, a real Uzi, they weren't having it. So the good folks at LAX kept my water gun and, still there to this day, I guess. But I've never owned a water gun. Last but not least, this may surprise you or may not. I, growing up, never had my own phone. In fact, I had to share a phone as I was a teenager with my brother, who again is 3 years younger than me, and my cousin Eric, who is 9 months younger than me. Eric and I were in the same grade. So I never had my own phone. And I always thought it was dope when my friends had their own phone or own phone line. We didn't even have that. Now we were, I'm not going to say, I guess the best way I can describe it, we were blessed to have 2 separate lines in our house. And as I'm talking about phone, folks, I'm talking about landlines. I'm not talking about cell phones because there were no cell phones in the 80s and 90s. So I graduated high school from Wilson High School in 1991. So 1991, there is no cell phone, right? And so anytime I wanted to use the phone, we had 2 different lines in our house. We had a public line and a private line. The public line was my aunt's phone. And so I had to, like, let's say I wanted to talk to a honey. I would have to, call her at like 7 o'clock and I might get 30 minutes to Mac. And then after that, maybe my brother has to use the phone. So he may come in the room and say, hey man, how long you gonna be on the phone? I need to call whoop-de-whoop. And so he's got to call whoop-de-whoop. And then he may be on the phone for an hour. And then Eric has to use the phone. And then when Eric's on the phone, he's on the phone for maybe 20 minutes. And then a girl that I was trying to talk to, she's calling. So now it's like you got 3 teenage boys basically vying for position when it comes to the phone. And I mentioned it was my aunt's phone. So if she gets a phone call from Miss Lucille from up the street, you got to get off the phone. But yeah, I always thought it was dope, man. I dated a few girls who had their own lines. I thought that was so cool because like we just, I guess we were poor. We couldn't get our own lines. What we ended up doing was kind of splitting between the public line and the private line. So we started giving out the private line because at least that way we could, we could have a little bit more freedom or what have you. But it was tough, man. My kids will never know the struggle, obviously, because everybody's got cell phones. So, it's not the same. But I mean, the pre-internet days of not having a phone in your room, man, it was tough, man. And think about it like this, and I talked about this on the phone episode, and it's worth repeating. In the phone episode, I mentioned the fact that, if you had a phone in your house, wherever that phone was, particularly if the phone wasn't in your room. So if you don't have your own phone, you have to take that call wherever that phone is. So again, the phone was in my aunt's room, and then she eventually got a cordless phone. But before she got the cordless phone, I literally would have to take the phone call in her room. I couldn't leave her room to take the phone call, which was annoying because you can't really Mac, when your aunt's sitting right there in the room. But the cordless phone was a big help because you can move around. You can go outside. Sometimes I go sit in the driveway. Sometimes I go sit by our pool. And Mac like that. But yeah, but not having my own phone was, I thought that was terrible. And if I could go back in time, I would have purchased my own phone. Now, getting my own line would have been something totally different because landlines weren't cheap at all back in the day. But yeah, those are, just a few things that I never did as a kid. If you got any, definitely let me know. Hit me up and let me know. I'd love to hear them. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every Thursday and every Sunday. Also, don't forget about our new baby. It's called the Rap Soul Podcast. It is the intersection where we have discussions about music, more specifically rap, soul, hip hop, and R&B music from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. It's the best music podcast that you've never heard. Be sure to check it out. We drop new episodes every Monday and every Friday. You can listen to the Rap Soul podcast wherever you're listening to this podcast or watch it on YouTube. If you're interested in merch, we have merch. Go to the description box, click the merch link, and you can get 12 Kyle podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. Also, if you'd like to contribute to the podcast financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheers.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Access to affordable credit helps me pay my employees, but I don't really need it.
Inflation is killing me. But who cares? Big retailers are making record profits. That's why we support the Durbin Marshall credit card bill.
See? Banks and credit unions help small businesses make payroll. This bill would cut the vital resources they need,
while increasing megastore profits. They deserve it, don't they?
Tell Congress, stop the Durbin Marshall money grab for corporate megastores.
Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.